Deep in the depths of the forest, outside the town, stood a house surrounded by loneliness. Its roof was covered in moss, its windows were filled with dust and grime. In this seemingly abandoned house lived a man, one of the most mysterious and eerie residents of the town, who never revealed his name and lived in solitude. His face was filled with scars, his eyes reflecting the pain he had once endured. The man was not alone in this abandoned house. He lived there with his wife, who was in a decaying state. Her presence was a reminder of his painful past, although their relationship had died years ago. Similarly, a weak and filthy cat roaming the corners of the house also shared the man's loneliness. Days passed quietly in the house. The man mostly lived in isolation from the outside world. However, every night, strange noises would emanate from the house, causing him to confront the ghosts of his dark past. These sounds kept him awake throughout the nights, wrestling with dark thoughts. As the dark and silent night preserved its mystery around the abandoned house, the distant rumble of an engine could be heard. A stranger's car had broken down on the road outside the town. His name was Harry. Surveying this situation, Harry noticed a light coming from the window of the abandoned house. Initially hesitant, he realized he had no other choice but to seek help and began walking towards the door of the abandoned house. Tapping on the door, hiding his desperation, Harry was met with silence from inside. Emerging from the house under dim light, Adam's scarred face greeted him. The two men silently looked at each other, each carrying their own secrets and pains. The owner of the house spoke quietly. "Is your car broken down?" Harry nodded quickly. "Yes, I need to walk to the town. I need your help." Adam stood there, engulfed in a silence that evoked a strange feeling. As Harry stepped into the abandoned house, he was shocked to see the decaying figure of the man's wife. His gaze fixed on the dead woman, Harry stood frozen with fear and astonishment. However, the man's attempts to reassure him that everything was normal and his usual behaviors made him feel like everything was normal, and then a voice rose. "So, you've met my old hag of a wife. She used to never shut up, but now she doesn't talk at all," he said, followed by a wicked laugh. After a moment of hesitation, Harry ran without looking back through the open door, ran. Running into the center of the town, Harry, out of breath, reported the situation to the police. "There's a lunatic living there, living with his dead wife, thinking she's alive." After Harry's frantic report, the police immediately set off for the scene. Returning to the abandoned house with the police, Harry entered with breathless excitement. However, he was bewildered by what he saw. There was no sign of the man or the decaying woman in the house. There was only an abandoned and silent house. The police, considering Harry's account, carefully examined the house but found no evidence. Confused, Harry stepped out of the abandoned house. With a puzzled mind, he tried to understand the mysterious secrets of the house and the true nature of its inhabitants. He was sure what he saw was real, but deep down, there was a small hope that such a bizarre and frightening experience could have been a dream. Trying to convince himself that he wasn't going mad, he struggled to accept reality. As he sat in the driver's seat of his car, the silhouette of the abandoned house loomed in his mind. With determination, he decided to take the next step to uncover the mysterious secrets of the house. There was no turning back now, as he was determined to find the truth and prove to himself that it wasn't just a nightmare. Harry decided to closely observe the abandoned house, taking deliberate steps toward the front. He carefully surveyed every step, feeling the silence and mystery around him. As he approached the house, he noticed moss and mold dominating its walls. The windows were filled with dust and grime, as if no one had entered for years. On the first day, he walked around the house, observing carefully, but he saw no signs of life. The silence and abandonment of the house gave it a creepy atmosphere. When night fell, there was only silence and darkness around the house. On the second day, Adam gathered his courage and decided to take a closer look outside the house. He slowly approached the decaying wooden door of the house. The rusty hinges of the door creaked slightly as he approached. Despite wanting to enter, fear and concern held him back. However, his curiosity and determination pushed him forward. The mysterious atmosphere intensified as he moved closer to the entrance. He did not know what he would encounter inside, but he was ready to take this step to find out the truth. As he stood in front of the door, he took a deep breath and reached out to open it. Harry slowly opened the door, accompanied by a creaky sound. However, as he entered, he encountered the silence and emptiness of the abandoned house. As he looked around, he saw that no one was there. He carefully examined the room, inspecting the furniture covered in dust and dirt. The silence and emptiness of the house gave him a chilling feeling. However, not seeing any signs of life surprised him. He continued to explore the room for a while, examining the old paintings and belongings on the walls. However, he found no clues. While trying to understand what was inside the house, he decided to do further research to uncover the mystery. Perhaps he could find more information in the other rooms or the basement of the house. With determination, he moved forward to delve deeper into his investigation. Suddenly, he heard a rustle behind him. When he turned quickly, he held his breath to see what he saw. He saw the weak and ugly cat staring at him. This moment seemed like proof that he wasn't going insane, but it also created a serious fear within him. Although he tried to convince himself that everything was okay, the cat's strange and eerie gaze sent shivers down his spine. Uncertain of what to do, he looked at the cat in fear. The cat's weak and filthy appearance blended perfectly with the mysterious atmosphere of the house. Harry, trembling with fear, decided to retreat as the cat took a step towards him. This sudden movement intensified his fear even more. Regardless, he had to escape from this cat. He quickly stepped out of the room to escape the eerie atmosphere of the house. As the silence and mysterious atmosphere of the house echoed behind him, he continued his escape with a terrified heart. As he ran deeper into the forest to escape the eerie atmosphere of the house, he desperately tried to find his way out. However, distinguishing how far he had gone and which direction he was going became increasingly difficult. The darkness seemed to have completely enveloped the surroundings and spread in every direction. As he continued to run, he looked around in panic, but he couldn't find his way. Suddenly, he saw the silhouette of a grave in front of him. He quickly stopped, but was frozen as he saw what was in front of him. Next to the grave, the lifeless body of a man hanging from a tree greeted him. Harry looked at the scene in shock, experiencing a moment of hesitation. Was this real or just a hallucination? Trying to convince himself that what he saw was real, he approached and stood beside the grave. The lifeless body of the man hanging from the tree swayed slightly in the wind. His old wounded face and filthy smile swayed on the rope. Harry asked himself why he had hanged his wife whom he thought was still alive and buried her. Desperately in fear, he wanted to escape this nightmare. He was still lost in the forest and he likened everything he saw to something else. He was on the verge of going mad and desperately trying to get out of the forest. He had the longest night. Finally, with the sunrise, he found the main road and tried to hitchhike. However, with his torn and frantic appearance, no one stopped. He walked for hours, and when he finally reached the center of the town, people looked at him with disgust. He was covered in mud that had dried out. He walked around looking dirty, finally thinking of going to the police, but he was more scared of finding nothing there again. In the end, after those nightmare-filled days, Harry was deeply scarred. He didn't tell anyone about the events and tried to deal with the traumatic experiences alone. However, the memories of those fearful days would remain deeply etched in his mind, becoming unforgettable nightmares. And perhaps, he would never truly know the reality of the terrifying scenes he witnessed in the abandoned house. Nevertheless, no matter what, the dark and terrifying memories of those days would stay with him.